here we go again. We have finished 10 years of working closely with AEA, many years before that, with our live streaming episodes and so forth. And of course, one of the highlights of all this has been the opportunity for you and I to kind of really just plow through the industry, talk about what's good, talk about what's bad, and maybe do a little forecasting for the future. And now with most recent news, it's going to be a particularly poignant time to find out what's happening with AEA, according to you who have led the organization for decades.
Yeah, it has been, it pains me to say it, but it's been about 39 years since I joined AEA, right fresh out of college. Wasn't even looking into the aviation industry as a career choice. My background's public relations and journalism, but this is where I ended up, best decision ever of my life, and it has been a wild ride, shall we say.
AEA has done an extraordinary job with a fairly small staff when you consider what's happening with the various organizations. How do you build an organization like AEA that serves so well and at the same time doesn't kill people in the process? You
know, Jim, it's the people. It's truly the people, not just the AEA staff, but the membership that we represent. We are but one small segment of the overall general aviation industry, and obviously we focus on avionics and instruments and the maintaining and installing and repairing of those avionics and instruments in the general aviation fleet. So we are a small community. And when you refer to the staff, obviously, thank you. I'm proud of the AEA. I'm proud of the organization and our mission, and extremely proud of the lean but mighty AEA staff. There are 10 of us. We also have a few international consultants because we now have members, company members in more than 40 countries around the world. So as you can imagine, trying to keep up on all the latest regulatory information from the various regulatory agencies around the world, it takes a while to do so. And we want to do the best job that we possibly can representing the members in those particular regions. But the culture of the AEA is a very friendly but business-like setting. We're also a very determined industry. You can't create this type of technology that we see in today's avionics and airplanes and aviation without having the dedication of a lot of different entities involved in our membership.
What are the milestones in your career that typify the growth and determination of the industry? And once we've gotten through all that, if you could have changed something, what would it have been?
Obviously, the technology is a huge change in the industry from 40 years ago to the present, from analog to digital, to the plethora of new avionics and instruments and technology that is out there, and then the new segments of the market that have come on in the last 40 years as well. But I also think a big driver, and probably some of the things that I look back on over 40 years, is our relationship with our regulators. Not only the FAA, but EASA, Transport Canada, Latin American region, South Pacific region. The willingness for them to understand that this industry is always in various modes of change because new technology drives change. And it has taken a while, I will say that, but I would say in the last 8 to 10 years, our regulators are finally realizing that if they are going to keep up with the technology changes, they have to streamline some of their processes as well, whether it's in certification, approval issues, installations, and so forth. So not only I've seen a lot of change over the last 40 years in the various technologies, but I've seen change in our regulators as well, being able to adapt to our industry in a much smoother way, and truly in the last 8 to 10 years.
The industry is showing an extreme demand right now for technicians. For some reason or another, it's not a career choice that pops up very readily, and therefore we're hearing from shops that they're having a really tough time getting the kind of people that they want, or even finding entry-level people to train into the position. What's going to be required to be able to staff this industry?
It is a concern of everyone in our industry, and it is a big issue. And it's reaching out to, I started to say just young people. We will take any age. You know, there could be a middle-aged person wanting a career change, and this would be a wonderful job opportunity for them. But it is reaching out and making them, educating those possible job applicants to what this industry is and what the job entails. And I'm pleased to say that over the last 10 to 15 years, our industry is finally realizing they are worth something. They have the technical skills and knowledge that they are worth commanding a certain salary to be paid for their skills and their knowledge. And our industry is responding. That's taken a little while, but I think as the shortage continues to grow, both our shops and our manufacturers are realizing you're not going to find an experienced technician walking into your door each week saying, I need a job. You've got to go and you've got to hunt for those people, and you have to be willing to train an entry-level technician and raise them up on the job in the hangar and spend some time with them, bringing them up to speed on the technologies and the installation and maintaining of those pieces of equipment.
If you had a crystal ball, what would you want to see done with the future, and what are you doing right now to build a better future for the avionics industry?
One thing that we are doing, we spoke about the lack of avionics technicians entering our industry. So AEA has started a new program called AEA Career Pathways. And the very first element of the program, and it will build over time, this is just a brand new program, but we're trying to help our shops in small ways, but in significant ways, to help find that entry-level technician. So we're offering to, under our educational foundation umbrella, to underwrite the cost of them using Avionics News and our career section online for free advertising for entry-level technicians. And then even more so than that, once they hire that entry-level technician, part of our Career Pathways program is helping train those technicians. And so we will offer any AEA member shop who hires an entry-level technician during 2018, and I have a feeling we'll probably extend this program into 19 as well, but we will offer them the heavily discounted academic rate that we usually charge for a technical training class at our Derby Center for professional development. So that's one way that we're trying to build for the future, if you will, for our members.
What work are you doing right now to seek out the entrepreneurs, to seek out the next big business, to seek out the folks that have a toehold but haven't necessarily jumped all the way in?
Right. It's definitely a paradigm shift for our, and again, we talk change, but it's a paradigm shift for our association. Traditionally, we have always had our associate membership required that you are manufacturing certified products. And while it is still a stipulation to become a member, we are still broadening our horizons, and we are welcoming in those new manufacturers that have a wide array of non-certified products. One of the ways that we are trying to broaden our horizons and welcome in new non-certified manufacturers into the fold is to host a technology incubator. We had our first annual technology incubator last summer at our headquarter office outside of Kansas City, Missouri, and we plan to do the second annual this year, coming again in August in the summer. And we're inviting those new companies, those young companies that right now are currently producing non-certified products, and we bring them in. And we also bring in the FAA, the respective region or divisions of the FAA that is in charge of non-certified and certification of new products. And we bring them together, and that company can demonstrate their products to the FAA, and they can ask questions. We have testimonials from companies that are now AEA members that started as not traditionally non-certified product manufacturers, and they come in and give their testimonial of how they got started in the industry. So we realize that we have to change as well. We have to change with the times and look outside the box of what new technologies may be coming down the pike.
Let's get to the big story of the day. You have served this industry extremely well for more than a few years. You have announced your intention to finally get out of the rat race. And for the next year, your people will be searching for your replacement. And this time next year in Palm Springs, we're going to find out who that person is. Look at me as whoever is going to replace you. What do you tell me about how to be the successor to Paula Derks?
I would probably tell the next president of the AEA the same thing that my father told me when I became president. Never burn a bridge, treat people with respect, always have an open mind, don't automatically say no without really thinking through someone's suggestion, and always be willing to learn. Always be willing to learn something every day, because just when I think I have it down and I know exactly what's going to happen that day or that week or that month, something changes and I have to adapt. So I think adaptability is a big, especially in this industry, you have to be willing to adapt. But just to listen to people, that's part of our membership culture, is you have to be a good listener as well. And that's probably what I would pass on.
How do you think the person who will be taking AEA forward from here has to be different from what you've been doing for these past many years?
I hope they're different. Change is good. Change can be positive. I don't think they need to completely flip the organization overnight, but I hope they bring in their own ideas, their own initiatives, and build their own culture, how they think the association should go. Of course, we are governed by a very hardworking and talented board of directors. So they'll seek guidance and they'll receive guidance, hopefully, from our board of directors as this person moves forward. And I think that what I would say to industry and to the AEA staff and to the AEA membership is give this person grace. Mm-hmm. Give them time to get settled in and continue on the tradition of AEA. I am very proud of this organization, and for whatever part I played in it, I can just take that away with me and be proud of whatever I did to help make it what it is today. I'm proud of the culture of AEA. We are a very small organization. We're a small association, but I'm so proud of the staff, and I always say, you know, we may be small, but we are mighty. And we'll do what it takes to get the job done. And so that's what I would wish for the next president as well.
It's also one of the most diverse staffs in aviation. It's kind of interesting because in so many cases within your organization, the best man for the job is not a man at all. How has that made a difference?
It's funny that you should ask me that, because during these past few weeks, knowing that this announcement was coming, that I was going to be making this announcement this week at our convention, I've been reflecting and thinking back when I was first hired as the president. At the time, 23 years ago, when the search process was going on, there were 11 candidates for this position. I was the only woman. And as the search went through the different processes and candidates were cut, and then the final 3 were interviewed by the board of directors. And you think back 23 years ago, our board was 34 strong. So there were 34 people on our board, of which there was only 1 woman on the board at the time and 33 men. So I applaud them for looking past gender and looking at the person who they thought at the time had the most talent and overall stamina and drive to lead this organization, and they chose me. And I applaud those men for being forward thinking 23 years ago. But you are so right, there is not enough women in this industry. And you look at the presidents and CEOs of the other aviation associations in the general aviation industry, I can think of 2, maybe 3 other women out of the 15 to 16 aviation organizations that are either president or in an executive position. And that needs to change. Desperately. Yes.
You have an interesting board structure here. In many organizations, the board are the glitterati of their segment. You know, they've got names, they've got big time jobs, and of course they're big donors and so forth and so on. Your boards have been real people working real jobs with real talent and a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. In other words, working boards. How critical has that been to you?
Absolutely critical. They're not there just because of their title. We have a wide variety of titles on our board and a wide variety of segment representing both the manufacturers and the repair station industry. And we've had educators on the board before. We've had distributors on the board in the past, and hopefully we'll have all those different segments in the future. But you're absolutely right, and that's a great observation. They are a working board, and I think that brings, for lack of a better phrase, real life to the board. And they're, you know, some of them are business owners and they're presidents and CEOs, but some of them are in the trenches working day in and day out to help their small business grow. And so to have their feedback and their insight into what is working in the association, what's working in the industry, how AEA can better represent either a small shop, medium-sized shop, large shop, various sizes of manufacturers, it has been a huge benefit for AEA.
Well, we thank you for the faith you've put in us. You being able to work with one of the, if not the best staff we've seen from any organization in the aviation, or Aeroverse as we call it, has been incredibly beneficial to us. It's opened up other opportunities. We've had a tremendous amount of fun working with you and of course putting you on the spot at least once a year. And more important than anything else, for all that you've done, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, thanks, and go out and enjoy. Just dig life.
Thank you. And again, we've had a great relationship. We've had a great run. In the last 10 years here at Convention and Live Streaming, we've appreciated it. It's been a ball. So thank you. And to your team. You've got a great staff as well.
They do a phenomenal job. I just take credit for it. And it's been an honor and a privilege.
Thank you.
Aero-TV is brought to you by
True Blue Power Advanced Lithium-Ion Mainchip batteries feature proprietary nanophosphate technology. They deliver 3 times the energy density and are more than 40% lighter than lead-acid or NiCad alternatives. RTCA tested, FAA certified, available to OEMs today.
Avidyne is the pilot-centric innovator. If you look at Avidyne's 20-plus year history, we had the first moving map, full color, that had everything on it. We were the first ones to do a primary flight display for general aviation. Avidyne has lots of opportunities and things in the works that will continue the leadership role we played in the past of coming up with new concepts and always having the best user interface to them.
It's called AirText Plus. The mobile office is now a true, cost-effective win-win reality, because being available and part of the communication chain keeps you in control. Visit us at www.airtext.aero for more information and get started staying in touch today.
Are you stall smart? Ever since Orville and Wilbur took to the skies, pilots have been taught that the more airspeed you have, the better off you are. But over the last 100+ years, we've learned that's not always the case. Take stalls, for example. The common belief is that if you have sufficient airspeed, the aircraft won't stall. The fact is, an airfoil always stalls at the same critical angle of attack in relation to the relative airflow, regardless of airspeed, configuration, or weight. Learn more at AspenAvionics.com.